This room is quite a stretch, so I pictured this was a beach. I was walking along the beach. All the Instagram influencers getting up early in the morning to make some cool sunrise pictures. Yeah, thanks for having me on the topic of security. We heard it's important. It's nice to say. We'll see if that's true, or if important is the main point about it. When I wrote the talk, when I made the slides, I only noticed there's already a book with that title. It's such a nice title, somebody must have taken it, and they did in 2011. Race Against the Machine is the title of a book by Andrew McAfee, not to be confused with John McAfee, the crazy father of InfoSec, and Eric Brynjolfsson, MIT professors, on a slightly different but related topic, machines taking our jobs away. Machines, 2011, nowadays we would say machines and AI may be taking our jobs away. This is not my main topic, but we'll touch on it. So Race Against the Machine, will AI help or harm security? That's the question I'm trying to explore with you this morning. I'm from Berlin-based consultancy High Solutions. We do security topics consultancy across all branches, all sectors, and in all those topics that get in touch with IT and information security. So I'm the research guy, meaning I have the luxury to have quite a bit of time set aside to think about, talk about, discuss new topics that emerge, like AI, that have some connections with security. And nowadays, most topics have connections to security one way or the other. And in this case, AI and security, there's quite a bit of interesting connections to explore. It is a hype. There is a hype around that topic. Other topics are being replaced in this hype cycle. This is a natural process. It's not necessarily a bad thing, especially because during yesterday, the last day here, I found that the AI community, which I'm not really part of, yeah, I'm more an observer, a part-time participant in this community, is aware of that it is a hype, and there's actually some interesting, fruitful, sometimes even critical discussions about that, what that means, what effects this hype has. Okay, AI, so no need to tell you anything about AI, you're the experts, much more than me. There's a few topics that are in this whole field that we need to consider when we try to bring those two together: InfoSec, information security, or security, as we say, and machine learning, AI. These topics. So one big difference between those fields is the people doing them. I always find a very interesting phenomenon. What kind of people are attracted by a certain field? Like when I studied first physics and then changed to mathematics with a computer science minor, there were already significant differences between those communities. Now your typical security engineer, security analyst people are very special. We are a very special type of guys and gals, not so many gals yet as we like to have, but more and more, luckily. So it's a kind of special mixture between really nerdy people going deep into the technology, always a soldering iron in the pocket in case you might need it, and the need to talk to management, top management more and more, or we should, to convey what is important about these topics. So it's really very special people that fit in this field. From a first look, there could be some. There seems to be some overlap with the AI machine learning communities. Yeah? So sometimes you have partly overlapping backgrounds. Can be computer science, can be mathematics. But, and I noticed this yesterday, it's still a different kind of culture, and we get to this later. And this is not just an aside topic, because in my in my work, I often encounter this problem when two sectors have to meet to work together to make something work. Like when security and automation technology, ICS, need to come together in the last years, then there's really this culture gap that you need to overcome first to be able to develop a common vocabulary, a kind of common theory, what you're talking about. You don't have to have the same goals, but you have to have an understanding what the other's goals are and make some kind of common discourse to move the field forward. Okay, so why is it not that simple to bring AI into InfoSec and the other way around, InfoSec into AI? We'll get to that in a moment. We had the culture argument, and of course, there's also arguments in the topics themselves. So this is like one of the wisdoms of my profession. You've heard it before, I guess. Here it is attributed to an economist. There are two types of companies, those that have been hacked and those who don't know they have been hacked. And this is important for two reasons, actually. Question is whether you believe it or not. I mean, it might be a little bit exaggerated, but from my experience, statistically, it is true from what we experience in our work, depending on what you define as hacked, of course. I mean, it's a long scale stretch like here, what it means to be hacked. But you should assume something has happened already to you. And now what are the two problems in this wisdom? One is the don't know, because to train something in machine learning, you should know a little bit, yeah? Ideally, you have a well-labeled set, okay? You're hacked companies, you're non-hacked companies, and then you can train a model that will tell you afterwards whether somebody has been hacked or not. Not knowing it all doesn't make it impossible, it makes it much harder to learn in that kind of space. The second problem is more tricky. There are two types of companies. This is the joke, actually. It's one kind. There is only one kind of company. So if everybody has been hacked, you only have one label. So what should you be learning on? Yeah. So then you start distinguishing different kinds of being hacked, but you don't have good labels for that anyway. Either. So it's really one fundamental or two fundamental problems that make it hard to naively transfer machine learning to this field. Here's a graphic I like a lot by Belbix. They're a provider in the InfoSec AI field. They have two dimensions, things that can go wrong. This is a very long list. This is just a tiny fraction of what's on there. Things that can go wrong. And the other dimension is where these things can go wrong. Yeah. And what you can also already see from this small sector that's depicted here, it's quite a big space. Yeah. Lots of dimension. There's infrastructure, apps, endpoints, IoTs. And each of these topics might have thousands, hundreds of thousands of endpoints or systems under it. And things that can go wrong is even an open list. Yeah? This is part of why InfoSec is a hard field, or is a field that you have to be in for a long time, because there's so many things that can go wrong, and new ways of going wrong are developed on a weekly basis. So where these things can go wrong and what can go wrong. And this is also a systematic problem, because where these things can go wrong can be so many different places. You get your data from so many different places. This means as there's a lot of data, it can be hard to gather it. It can be very different type of data, and usually there's a price on getting all these data in the first place. Again, the more tricky part is in that one. How do you define something goes wrong? This goes back to the hacked or not hacked. Something whether something went wrong or not can totally depend on the context. Something that is legal behavior today can be a problem tomorrow because a new attack vector was discovered that uses this path. Or the other way around, something was wrong in the past because it was forbidden by company policy, for example, and now it needs to be done because otherwise your business process X would not work. So it needs to be okay, needs to be made okay to go that way, and now it's not wrong anymore, and a whole new branch of the attack tree opens up that attackers can try out. Okay, yeah, some examples. What can go wrong and where. And now back to our task. What can happen, or what do we have to think about when we bring AI or machine learning or deep learning? For this morning, I won't make a big distinction between these terms. We will eventually at some points, but let's just take it as one big blob for the moment, this developing field that you all know a lot about. When we bring it to InfoSec, and what is helpful here is a concept that was developed, I guess, among others. I know it from one of the few famous German computer scientists, Professor Liggesmeyer. And you have two dimensions here. Who can threaten whom? For example, if humans threaten humans, then we're talking about non-info, non-IT, classical security. It can be civil or military, so this is not our topic today. When we're talking about machines that could hurt people, then we're in the field of safety. So this is about machines not hurting, not killing people. It's an important, big and complex field in its own right, with certain links to InfoSec. But this is another big topic, what these links are, where the differences are, and why it's so hard to bring those two fields together. This is not for today. Classical InfoSec is the questions in what way humans threaten machines, IT system. This is the field I'm working in. Cyber war is like a new variant of this, so it's another arena where this game is played. And you could also ask the question, when in some hopefully distant futures, machines will fight machines without any human interaction, not even telling them to start, then we're in worlds that I also don't want to talk about today. But those two fields, machines attacking humans or threatening humans, and humans threatening machines, if you keep these in mind, InfoSec and safety, two complementary concepts. Okay, so what is InfoSec in a nutshell? And I really tried hard to put my field on one slide for you. So it's a big nut, but still, just the basic things that we need for this talk. So there is a goal, why you do it. And InfoSec is about protecting three things mostly: confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information and processes. This is like the easiest, the most compact definition that there is. And then we, my colleagues, our predecessors, we developed quite a big corpus of methods, methodologies, how we can go about that goal. Yeah. At the heart, it's usually a management system, so a framework of processes and procedures, a risk management system. Yeah? So this is mostly agreed upon now, that you cannot do everything, you cannot protect against everything. So what you do at the heart is you make a risk management process and try to care about, to tackle the most urgent risks. Usually nowadays you have some kind of cycle, so you act, you plan, you do, you check, you do it cyclically, so you keep rolling. You have a saturation curve, so quick wins, low-hanging fruits are easy to achieve, and then it gets harder and harder, and you will never get to 100%, and even to get From 80 to 90 is a lot more expensive than in the beginning, so this kind of curves. And then you have, and this is a little special in InfoSec compared to some other IT areas, it's really dynamic. So the threat landscape and the landscape of actors, threat actors, are dynamic, and you have very limited visibility of who's attacking you, why, and what they might have up their sleeves that you have never heard about. What we come up with in the process is usually a long, sometimes very long list of controls or measures, countermeasures. They can be preventive, detective, corrective. And of course, there's lots of folklore and other stuff that other fields have too. But I think maybe the bragging and the crystal balling, what might happen next year and that why we're all doomed is a little bit more prevalent in my field. Okay, so much for InfoSec. And now we bring together AI and security. Now, a lot of languages, German is famous for it, but English can do it as well. If you just link two words, there's quite some ambiguity in there. So what does that even mean, AI security? Do we mean AI for security? Do we mean security of AI or for AI? Do we mean security from AI? Against AI, or security because of thanks to AI, or the other way around, AI against security, security in spite of AI. So it's all in this little combination, and there might be some more. So which are we interested in? All of them for today, because I'm trying to sketch the whole arena of interactions that can be interesting. Okay, so this is what I came up with. You know, in my experience, every talk has one slide that you might remember in half a year from now. If you only remember one, please remember this one. It's the one I found most interesting. So what I did is take this 2x2 matrix, humans versus machine, and just expand each of the two dimensions by one actor or victim, and this is AI, very general now. So now we have a 3x3 matrix, 9 possible interactions. The 4 fields we don't have to look at them. So there's 5 new ones. Let's take this one first. AI against AI. And you know something about it. There's some fields, some traits in AI where this is used. AI fighting AI, we'll get to that. But the 3 interesting ones, according to me, are these. So humans trying to take AI systems, algorithms, whatever. So this is something that could be called AI security. Like info security, protecting information. AI security should be protecting AI against evil, whatever. Here we could have a field of AI safety. So this is the question. How can we prevent that AI will attack or harm humans? AI safety, like classical safety, but now it's just not any machines, but machines using AI. And thirdly, we have when we use AI to threaten to attack machines. So this is, we could call this security AI. So this is AI-enhanced security. And I want to have a look with you at those 3 fields, especially what they might encompass and what might be important questions in those fields. The adversarial part in the middle, I'm not going into today because there's better experts for that than me, but just 2 things. It's being used in 2 ways. It can, AI versus AI is used in a sparring sense, that you construct networks to train each other, like in a GAN. And it's also used in challenges like the DARPA challenge 2 years ago, where they made seven AI-enhanced or equipped systems fight each other, fight in an infosec sense, like attacking each other, hacking each other, and at the same time defending dynamically without any human user-admin interaction against the others attacking them. Both really interesting and fruitful concepts, but not for today. We will have a look at the other three. So let's first take AISEC. That was the top category in the matrix. So now it's about humans attacking AI. So actually, it doesn't even have to be humans. It can be other members of nature too. It can be a thunderstorm, can be lightning, can be water, can be earthquakes. So basically anything that's not IT in itself. Something like that, we or other natural things trying to harm systems, pieces of software. And this can happen on purpose or by bad luck. There's an ongoing fight, has been there for years in my field, whether fat fingers and stuff like that. So accidents are more dangerous or attackers are more dangerous. There's a complex answer to that, so we have to save it for another day. But the good news is we know how this works. Humans attacking pieces of software, whatever kind of software, this is InfoSec. So we know how to defend software or systems against humans. But there are some subtle and interesting differences. Let's take the 3 goals of InfoSec that I was talking about. Availability is an easy one. You have a lot of availability topics in AI, especially when it's cloud-based. You should think about that. Confidentiality is an interesting one here because there can be really valuable secrets embedded in AI artifacts and models. So you have to protect them in a way. But what really gets exciting is the integrity part, because what can be manipulated, what could be manipulated by an attacker, the evaluation phase, that would be like the classical attack. This is like attacking an SAP system or software when it's working. Yeah? But you could start earlier. You could attack, you could manipulate the models before they're put to use. You could attack or manipulate the training and then have decisions made in your favor. You could go even one step further and manipulate the data that somebody uses to train their systems. And you could go all the way and manipulate actually any part of the stack somebody uses to implement, deploy AI. So what we can tell you, InfoSec people can tell you, AI people, it's all going to happen. I don't know when and in what extent and how critical, how bad it's going to be. But this we can tell you, it's all going to be tried and part of it will be successful. So it's really worth thinking about it. Okay. Next topic, security AI. So now we're trying to use AI to attack computers. And actually there's 2 parts to it. Offensive AI, so really they're using it to attack. And of course you can use it, try to use it to defend. And I think the next talk up here by Tony from ESET will be a little bit about that topic. I'm citing, it's not 2013 actually, it's something he did in 2017, that's a mistake. Thomas Dolan, better known as Halvor Flake, his hacker handle, now from Google Project Zero. He did a talk last year in Moscow on a HackerCon about this misconception that we always think attackers versus defenders. He says it's much more complicated. Attackers don't attack defenders directly. There's the world, and there's attackers, and there's defenders. And there's quite some interactions going on between these different groups. Yeah? So a lot of work going on there for every one of them. Now, what we know a lot about is the defender, if we are the defender. Yeah? No, we have a company or we work for a company, we're trying to defend it. So we should know everything about it. We don't, but we could. Yeah? We know a little bit about the world statistically, because the world will change, but not that quickly, so we can learn about it as much as we want and can spare the resources. What we know very little about is the attacker, because they can change, and they do change, because it's in their interest to be unpredictable. And this is like the killer argument why ML will have a hard time, because it's not a distribution that's stable in time. So you could try and learn what attackers are doing today, but they will notice and they will change their behavior. And you couldn't learn that before, not in an easy way. So interesting, what most companies trying to do something in the AI sec field is try to work on the detection part. And this is actually the hard part, where you have little chances in succeeding. It would be easier for an attacker to use AI for the evasion, because the defenders will not change that quickly. They can't. They have a company to run. Or these areas, working on a semi-stable world. This could be tackled. Everything in this graphic could be tackled better with AI or ML than the detection phase. And I made a list. Let me check the time. Till when do I have? 11:30. Okay. Yeah, then we're good. I made a list. It's not complete. It's just some examples of what you could try or what is being tried to do today. For example, a classic spam detection. It's maybe the earliest use of machine learning techniques in information security, because spam is a security risk. It's threatening your productivity. Today we have near perfect algorithms for that. In the future this might change, because attackers have not even started to apply machine learning for their evasion techniques. And wouldn't it be a promising approach to try to make better spam with machine learning? In the end you want to be similar to real stuff. Perfect playing field for ML, right? So I think we should start learning, and this is not machine learning, but first we as humans learn about useful content, so we have better chances in seeing it, in detecting it when we see it. Virus detection is another classic. It uses some AI, but mostly not. So the big part of it is still non-AI. I don't think this is going to change that fast, that the bulk is non-AI, because there's this fundamental question inside there. What is evil behavior? How do you know? Something can be evil in one setting and can be legitimate or even necessary in another. Okay, now a little bit of provocative statement that it might be the wrong idea anyways to detect the evil. There's other approaches, whitelisting, hardening, true software engineering. We will be with virus detection for a while, but I think these other areas need more focus. Anomaly detection, this is like the hype that we have in the AI security field. For example, in the ICS space, automation technology, there's so many new vendors of anomaly detection software and systems appliances in the industrial sector. I would say AI is a marketing hype there. It will work in simple environments where your space of possibilities is not that big, but for all the rest, for more complex systems, I think focus should be more on these classical techniques that try to prevent such attacks in the first place. I'm not going into all the detail because of the time. There's vulnerability scanning, uses some AI only. We tried it a little bit for our customers. Pump up our vuln scanning skills with some AI techniques. It didn't really bring a lot. I think it would be interesting on a macro level, like if you could gather a lot of data, like from scans of a lot of companies, from the whole internet, and this is too much data to crunch like in a classical way. You could, I think, get some trends from this. For example, companies that use this and that philosophy of patching, for example, or who did a migration, who did not migrate from this to that technology, for example, they fared better statistically in the long run, stuff like that. There's attribution, so the question who did it. It's another fashion now in the InfoSec world and in the politics, in the policy world, where people say we need InfoSec, we need attack capabilities. Most of my colleagues think it's a really bad idea to try it. It shouldn't be the focus to try to find out who it is for several reasons. Yeah, one is it can always be faked. One promising area that I identified is config management. Probably some people are doing it. So it's really the boring question, what do I have? What systems do I have? What operating systems do they want? What patch level? What software? And most companies don't have that, either not at all or in a fractalized way in some areas, and others they don't. And this would be really promising because it cannot be done in 100% fashion. Nobody will get finished when they really try to write down all their configuration of all their plans, all their sites. But there's valuable information in there. Like most servers that we had in the last 10 years that did X were not hacked. So that might be a hint that it's a shift of resources to this technique would help. So for that to work, companies would need to start doing config management in the first place. And I would like to see some startups using AI to make it cooler because it's such a boring topic, but it's a really, really important one. Without knowing what you have, you cannot really start protecting it. Yeah. And there's a lot of others that are worth thinking about that are not like the main focus. Now it's mostly on anomaly detection, the whole detection thing. And as we saw, as Thomas Dahlin found out, it's maybe not the most promising spot where you might want to apply AI. So I expect lots of hidden wins that need to be researched first. Okay. Third topic was AI safety. So this is now AI attacking, or let's say harming us. And we've heard about this quite a bit already on this conference, in the keynote yesterday, for example, today. So this is all these topics, what could go wrong because of AI. And there's several important themes in here. One is the opacity versus transparency thing. Second is bias. And the third is singularity. We don't even have to go that far, the singularity, because actually it's a long scale. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So opacity or transparency. Transparency is a crucial prerequisite for our political systems, for democracy. Accountability is important, so we can decide if we want to go on with a certain leadership or we want to exchange them. And only if we have that trust that we know enough about what's going on, that we have this transparency, this insight, we will believe in this system and give it our vote and our trust for the next couple of years. So there's a danger in using AI. More decisions can be buried in some code, in some models, but it can also be a chance if we would develop policies and customs, or a culture that anytime you use AI for processes in society, you would need to make it transparent what's happening there, why it's happening, documenting, logging technically, as well as on a meta level, researching what happened, why did it make this decision. Then there might be a chance the system might get more transparent than our system today, usually practically no AI. So this is one. The bias. I had some interesting discussions on the bias topic here yesterday. It's true, bias cannot be avoided. You cannot get rid of it totally. And in a way, it shouldn't, because it's a part of a culture to make certain decisions for a while, certain preferences. But of course, bias is a negative term, so it starts being a problematic bias when it's systematically discriminating against certain groups. And the danger of using AI techniques is if we encode such bias, and then it will be harder to change it. It's hard enough to change it in people. It takes a lot of time, discussions, social fights, lobbying, all that, to have some fluidity in the bias that we have. And it's always a question of power. So which group has the ability to push biases, society's preferences a little bit in a direction? And this could get better with AI or could get worse. And what we really have is a stakeholder problem. So it was in another talk, if only a certain class, it's only certain people are able to work in that field and understand AI and program AI and use it, then they might be less inclined to work against bias towards groups that are not included there. So what my advice is there is to always ask and invite those discriminated against. So it usually works a little bit better, not if I ask myself, am I biased, to ask the people that something or someone is biased against. Do you feel discriminated against? It's not a safe bet. They might not notice as well, not yet, but because my position might be comfortable at the moment, I might even be more blind to that bias than them. And then there's the third topic, singularity. So singularity is a big term, but actually to me it's more like a scale. So the extreme would be machines taken over and they don't need us anymore. But it starts actually with a bias. A little bit of bias that machines introduce or reinforce or invent or keep up that would have changed otherwise. Machines taking away more and more decisions, and then it's a far stretch to the other side where it's singularity really. But we should start researching early these effects, because it's way too late when we get to singularity. I don't know if we're going to get there, but the dangers, the problem starts much earlier, and it's a new topic, an emerging phenomenon. This what's a good name for that? The problem with singularity, the term is misleading because it feels like something that might happen in 40 years. We would need a term that is like this. Okay. Thanks, 5 minutes. A term that... it's happening in 5 minutes. Yeah, okay. I try to finish my talk before the singularity. Okay, yeah. Okay, so we had a look at those 3 areas that should get some scrutiny when we're thinking about AI and information security influencing themselves, being connected. But the most important question is, of course, who will win in the end? I don't mean InfoSec or AI. I hope we're not competing in that sense. I don't feel we are. But of course, the bad guys or the good guys. So this is always our naive security questions. So in other words, which effects will be stronger? AI helping security or AI harming security? So will attackers or defenders win, in other words? And before AI, or in InfoSec as we knew it, before you guys came along, there was a clear answer to that. No, actually there 5 years ago there was another answer. The answer was attackers will always win. There's no chance to defend, to really defend against somebody who really wants to attack you. Now it has changed a little bit, and the answer is more, it depends. We used to say the attacker wins, but now it's more like, yes, in single instances, if somebody really puts the resources into attacking you, and it's you and not anybody, then you will have a hard time because they have some advantages that I'm not going to talk about now. But globally, it has worked quite well. There haven't been that many really, really bad InfoSec catastrophes so far. And statistically, it's nothing. So globally, defenders seem to be on the winning side so far, statistically. There's one but. We haven't had a cyber war, a real cyber war yet. So this might change this balance a little bit, another topic. Okay, but now with AI or post-AI, as we say, post-quantum is a world when we have, after we have a quantum computer. So post-AI is the world after we have, when we have AI, the security world, what does it look like? Yeah, of course, normatively, defenders need to keep winning, not every time, but statistically, without really, really, really bad events happening that kill millions of us, okay? What do we need for that? New type of defenders and defenses, because as we saw, some things in the landscape are going to change, and not the things that you might think of first. So we need new types of defenders and need to research more on what's necessary to defend in this post-AI or AI world. Back to our graphic. So if you take something away from today, it might be this one. All of these new emergent fields have interesting things to think about. New attack vectors from humans on AI, these fundamental questions of AI safety, opacity, bias, singularity, and the surprising insights on security AI that might work better for the offenders than the defenders. What I would like to offer you to take home, we should talk more. We, InfoSec community and the AI community, now, like we're doing in this very moment. Thanks for having me again. And I would be happy if I got you interested a little bit in learning more about threat modeling, attacks, attack vectors, risk analysis, risk management, security by design, accountability, transparency, and I hope you will have some fun doing it. Thank you.